The regular meeting of the Aurora City Council is called to order. Would the clerk please read the roll?
Mayor Kaufman,
Here.
Councilmember Bergen, Councilmember Coombs, Councilmember Coombs, Councilmember Gardner,
Here.
Councilmember Hancock, Councilmember Hancock, Councilmember Drinsky,
Here.
Councilmember Lawson,
Here.
Councilmember Medina,
Here.
Councilmember Mario, Councilmember Mario, Councilmember Sundberg, Councilmember Sundberg.
Here.
Please join me in a moment of prayer. Oh Lord, our God and our Father, we come to you and we ask that you would look upon this particular gathering tonight to keep us safe and guide us in our decisions. Bless our city with honorable citizens, industry, and sound education and good government. Unite our community together, even though we come from different backgrounds. We pray that there be justice and peace in our city. Give the city council and citizens the wisdom, direction, and sensitivity to the business and proceedings before us tonight. Hear us, therefore, as we commit this meeting to the help of the community. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Land acknowledgement. The City of Aurora acknowledges that we gather on the territories and ancestral homelands of the Cheyenne, Ute, Arapaho, and Lakota peoples, past and present. We also recognize the 48 contemporary tribal nations that are historically tied to the lands that make up the state of Colorado, indigenous peoples who remain committed to the stewardship of this land over many centuries. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties that these nations have to their traditional homelands and to their vital place in the ecosystem are renewed and reaffirmed. And we are called upon to be better stewards of the land we inhabit as we continue to work to meet the needs of our entire community. Executive session. During executive session, we discussed litigation. And we discussed personnel matters, potential litigation and personnel matters. A motion is order for approval of the minutes for October 28, 2024.
I move to approve the minutes.
Moved by Councilmember Sundberg, seconded by
Mayor second.
Councilmember Lawson to approve the minutes from October 28, 2024. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the approval of the minutes from October 28, 2024.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Drinsky,
Yes.
Councilmember Medina,
Yes.
Councilmember Mario,
Yes.
Councilmember Sundberg. The motion passes with 8 yes votes to adopt the October 28th, 2024 council meeting minutes.
Okay. Very well. Decorum announcement for virtual meeting. Council has created a public forum and wants to receive public input. You are asked to follow the same rules that council follows, including no attacks of a personal nature. We ask that you refrain from using profanity. As mayor, I have been asked by council to admonish speakers for non-compliance. Council shall be given the opportunity to address city staff to exchange contact information. Council may clarify statements related to any speaker's comments at the conclusion of public invited to be heard, but shall not enter into debate with the speakers. Public invited to be heard is limited by council rules to 1 hour. total, and each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to speak. Please speak. Please keep your fellow citizens in mind when planning your comments by limiting your comments to 3 minutes. Public invited to be heard.
Rhonda, you're first. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Yes. Good evening, council members. I come before you tonight, not as a politician, not as a leader with influence or power in this chamber. I am here on the behalf of my son, Kylan Lewis, whose life was unjustly taken and whose name I refuse to let be buried under the weight of neglect and indifference. Kylan's life had meaning, not only to me, but to our entire family and to every life he touched. And yet, in this place where decisions are made for the welfare of our community, where voices are meant to rise for the voiceless, we have heard nothing but silence. Your silence have been as heavy as the grief we carry. It has echoed louder than any words could. That silence, that void, where we expect justice, accountability, and compassion has been an ongoing wound, cutting deeper with every passing day. While my family mourns, while we grapple with agony and unanswered questions and unaddressed injustice, we see how readily this council finds his voice when personal interest, political power, or favorable optics are on the line. But when it comes to the cries of mothers like me, crying for justice, for the truth, and for our children, then there is silence. There is not leadership. This is abandonment. Leadership is not a tool to advance your own interests, to build careers, or preserve comfort at the expense of accountability. Leadership means standing up when it's hard, speaking out when the silence is most convenient, and carrying the weight of those you were elected to serve. Let me be clear, very clear on this. I will not be silent. Kylan's memory deserves better. My family deserves better. This community deserves better. And if you won't be the leaders we need, then know that I, a mother, armed with grief and a relentless love for her son, will continue to fight every family impacted by this lack of accountability. Every mother, father, and child who has been failed deserves a voice in this chamber. And I will bring that voice. I will stand here as long as it takes. In my culture, we carry our children in our life and in death. We mourn in public and in private. We fight for each other, even when the world seems determined to look the other way. This is the legacy I come from, and I will not be portrayed. And so let me ask each of you, when you look at yourselves in the mirror, when you think of your own families, will you be able to say that you use your power to uplift those?
Rhonda, your time is up.
Thank you. Just think about the words I have said at this time. Thank you.
I apologize. I forgot to mention, would each speaker identify themselves by name and whether or not they're a resident of the city of Aurora before they give their remarks? Thank you.
Next, we have Tristan. Tristan, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, this is Tristan, resident of Aurora, Ward 1. Hi, I was sick last week, so I'm back this week to once again express my displeasure with this council and the Aurora Police Department. We all think it's really cute that you had town hall meetings for us to get to know our new police chief, that we had no input in choosing, but we're tired of your bullcrap. We ended up with a police chief that was denied in Chattanooga, Cincinnati, and Little Rock for being too racist. Those people all had a say in who was in charge of their police force, and they didn't think he was cut out for it. You did, though. Why? What makes you think that he is worth even an iota of our beautiful, diverse city's time? His choosing really tells us what you think about us normal citizens. You certainly don't think we deserve a right to due process. At least you didn't think Corey Dillard did. You didn't think Kylin Lewis did. We never had a chance to know if either of them were innocent because their right to a trial was taken from them by a police keeping force that decided they are able to use the death penalty at will. And now, not only is Michael Deek acquitted of all charges, but the names of the officers involved in the execution of Corey Dillard are still being withheld. The Cora requests for body cam footage being denied repeatedly, and even those responses are denied after a week of waiting. When will you stop taking from us, your citizens? Some would argue that these cowards feared for their lives. Kylin Lewis was holding a phone in his hand, like I'm sure all of you are while I'm saying my piece. Corey Dillard was holding a toy airsoft gun. You are so quick to paint Black folks like a threat that you weaponize your incompetence to a lethal degree. Yet you were able to detain James Holmes after he had just killed 12 people. Why did James Holmes, a murderer with blood still fresh on his hands, get his Lynn and Corey were each killed on the spot, both unarmed? And then you have the audacity to choose our police chief for us. You have the audacity to choose the creme de la creme of racist police. We let him know at your town hall meeting what we think of him, and we're reminding you now what we think of you. We need an independent citizen civilian council that has the ability to fire and charge corrupt police officers, as well as conduct independent investigations when force of any kind is used. We don't need you to choose for us. We've already seen how many deaths you are willing to permit, and it's time the community took the control back. I want you to think of all of the families that you left a void in by your inaction. Thanks.
Next, we have Madane. Madane, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Tonight, I can only be a voice that amplifies the pain, anger, and strength of a family who has been failed time and time again. Kylin's family continues to exalt unjustified resilience as they bear witness to leaders in our city who refuse to leverage their platform for justice. You have had months to consider how you locate yourself and your leadership in this story and in this movement, but you continue to rationalize your inaction through the lens of what you can't do. This isn't a personnel issue. This has always been a moral issue, one that you have consistently distanced yourself from. We will not rest, we will not stay silent, and we will not let your inaction erase Kylin's memory. We have watched members of this council speak up to dehumanized communities, passionately talk about remedial priorities, and bicker about internal decorum when there was a stage to stand on and cameras to capture a performative image of leadership. What you fail to realize is that when this story is retold and history does its diligence, your legacy will be plagued by your silence. It is not lost on us that before this council recessed this evening, Mayor Kaufman, you chuckled as you said that silence is consent. That is what we continue to advise you week over week. Your silence is consent in the lynching of Kylin Lewis. What history will also show is that the family of Kylin Lewis is not alone. They are not unprotected, unheard, or unseen. We are building a movement, a community of people who are ready to fight back against this indifference, to hold each of you accountable, and to demand long overdue justice. We are and will continue to organize for Kylin and for every family who has been dismissed and disregarded through your leadership. And this movement will continue to grow because the truth is, our resilience is stronger than your silence. You may be lost in your illusion of power, but let me remind you that real power comes from those who are brave enough to speak out, to stand up, and to do what is right, even when it's hard. We are those people. And as long as you remain silent, as long as you refuse to act, we will be here, louder, stronger, and more united. We will not let you look away. We will not let you ignore us, no matter what your nonverbals tell us. We will not let you forget the legacy of Kylin Aaron Lewis.
Next, we have Ante. Ante, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Council, we are on the precipice of history. In less than 24 hours, America could have its first African-American, South Asian woman president of the United States of America, and she will take down a bully. Now, I never thought I would be on the same side of empathy for Council members Stephanie Hancock, Councilmember Dustin Zvonek, Councilmember Francois Bergen, but tonight, allow me to tell you that this is your opportunity to stand up to your bully. We have all read the words of Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky and the words that she used in her text message exchange to demean you all because you simply will not vote her way. Her actions are irreprehensible, and we urge you to do whatever is necessary to denounce her actions as a council, whether that is a censure or a formal admonishment. But we will not allow bullies to continue to serve in government. Danielle, your time is coming. We see you, and we do not endorse your leadership. Your staff members may have bullied individuals at your bar. We will not allow that to go silently into the night. We will stand with those victims as they speak out against you. We will stand with the families that have been victimized by police in the city because of their bullying tactics and or murderous behaviors, because their actions will not go silently into the night. From the many African Americans and other individuals who have been murdered by your police force, we simply say, enough. We say enough is enough because their lives mattered. Their lives have meaning, and we stand with their families. So it is now incumbent upon all of you as city leaders to stand up to the bullies, whether if that means they wear a badge and hold a gun and have the Aurora logo on their shoulder, or if they are serving on city council hoping to get an appointment in the Trump administration. Stand up to your bullies. And so I hope that as we close this evening, you will have a change in your heart to stand up for the families of police violence, to stand up for yourself, because we see the harassment you are now facing from your colleague. It's unacceptable.
Your time is up.
And we hope you will take action for Kylin and against all of the others lost to police violence.
Next, we have Tanya. Tanya, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to say that it is a privilege that we as the public get to speak at these meetings. At times, our expressions might be heard a different way, which means is not intentional. Each one of us has a right to speak and inform council our thoughts and concerns about the community. The general respect of all speakers, regardless of what they speak, should be adhered to. I have heard a lot of hurt and anger regarding situations when our community is speaking. I would implore the community to really listen and present solutions on how to overcome the current tensions. Also, I would like to state something to Mr. Batchelor, saying that if he could put something together or state what he can or cannot do regarding the police chief, the firing or hiring of the police chief, and present it to public, that would be greatly appreciated so we could actually see, because I looked on the charter tonight and I couldn't figure out what is what. Other than that, every one of us has issues and concerns. We're not all perfect. We all have mistakes and stuff that we do. We lean on each other, we support each other, and right now there's a lot of division in this country, and we need to support each other. We need, as a community, figure out a way and come together as a community and figure things out. Because right now there's too much division, and we need to support each other through thick and thin, and not say this person and bullying and whatnot. But I just wanted to state that we are all in it together, and we should all support each other to grow. Thank you.
Next, we have Jeffrey. Jeffrey, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Council. My name is Jeffrey McFarland. I live in Ward 1, in the gang-filled zone. I wanted to speak a piece this evening on why it is that there is, I guess, such a degree of tension and, I guess, a lack of suggested solutions, which there hasn't been. There have been plenty of suggested solutions. Is because the entire basis of Todd Chamberlain's appointment as police chief, the word trust gets used very frequently. Trust. And see, I have in front of me the Wikipedia page for the Aurora Police Department, and I'm opening their misconduct tab. And just to illustrate to you why trust is hard to swallow as an answer or a justification for anything, for Kylan Lewis's family, Corey Dillard's family, why we demand community oversight of the police in some ways. Here's a few of them. I'll go from 2019 because that's when Kaufman got elected, tough on crime and all, and we'll start there. In March 2019, Officer Nate Meyer was found in his uniform and official police vehicle asleep. A blood test showed 5 times the legal limit of alcohol. Aurora officers responding to the situation turned off their body cameras, failed to test the clear liquid found in a bottle in the car, and did not collect evidence that could have been used in a criminal prosecution. After being demoted, Officer Meyer remained on the job. On the 24th of August 2019, responding to a call of a suspicious person, aka Walking While Black, the Aurora Police Department arrested Elijah McClain while he was walking home with groceries. McClain subsequently died as a result of police action during the arrest. That's the coroner's report, if you're wondering, not the press. On the 27th of August 2019, Officer Levi Hafeen hog-tied a black woman with her hands and ankles behind her back and ignored her cries for help for 20 minutes after she fell off the back seat of his cruiser in an inverted position. Body camera imagery showed this. Interim Police Chief fired Hafeen. He appealed his firing. The firing was upheld, and Hafeen sued the department in an attempt to get his job back. On the 10th of August 2020, Officer Robert Rosen responded to a King Soopers supermarket to assist another officer in arresting a man who was allegedly trespassing. When Rosen arrived on the scene, he began to punch the suspect multiple times in the ribs and deployed his taser more than 5 times. While the suspect was passively resisting, laying on the floor covering his arms, before Rosen arrived on the scene. These just keep going. Again, I'm just reading from 2019. Press report in early February of 2022 indicated that Doug Wilkinson, the head of the local police union, was fired. This was
Jeffrey, your time is up.
Into an email from, he said that Aurora consisted of 10% illegals, 50% weed smokers, 10% crackheads, and child molesters. So there's your trust in the police force, like they trust in us.
Next, we have Susan. Susan, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, this is Susan Tabachek. I'm a citizen of Aurora, and I want to thank you, council members and Mayor Kaufman, for the great job you're doing, because you don't make the final decision on what happens to somebody, but you get to have public knowledge, and they don't want to go do this in front of the DA. Now, the second thing I want to say is thank you to all the servicemen who served, those who have died, and their families, because November 11th, we have freedom because of them. And then the other thing I want to say is I feel like my council has been hijacked, and I don't appreciate it. I have Black people in my family. They've listened to everything that's been going on, and they don't agree with it. I mean, we all lose people. The third thing I want to say is there's a road, 6th Avenue, has a turn that by Stephen's Church, no, not this Stebbins Church, but the one across from Del Mar Park, the circle there. I've asked Larson about, please get that turn lane put in there. You know, I love Aurora. I was born in Gunnison. I'm from Colorado. I would appreciate, you know what? I could do away with public speaking, because to me, if you're that upset, go to the DA. He's the one that made the decision, not council, but they don't have a TV there, so they can't record you there. You know, and I feel like you're hijacked. I think you're bullies. And I feel bad for you all. I've lost family members, and I've watched the police accidentally kill somebody, but you don't see their families up here doing this, and I'm ashamed. I don't think God wanted it, and I bet you Kylan didn't want it. And that's all I have to say.
Next, we have Aaron. Aaron, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, thank you, Council. Thank you for everything that you guys do. But however, I've got to say I am very disappointed after recent suppression of allowing people to speak during public comment. It's actually very disrespectful and unconstitutional. I know you guys are going to be voting on meeting virtually a little bit later, and honestly taking the people's right away to speak. That's doing the same thing that people are commenting on repeatedly tonight, and it's really, really disappointing. Honestly, this council, there are people on this council that are standing up for people who have a right to speak. There's some council members that have been fed up that are quitting because of the way this council is operating. There's some people that don't even show up, haven't shown up in 3 months. And these are people that we voted in. One of them was the top vote getter. The top vote getter on council doesn't want to show up because they're disappointed in the council rules. What does that tell you? Because one council person wants to be the loudest, the baddest person in the room. That's really, really disappointing. And honestly, if I agree with her, disagree with her, or disagree with them, the one thing that they haven't been is silent. Whether it's feeding the media lies about Venezuelan gangs, or whether or not they believe that Kylan Lewis should be alive doing a performative stunt, it's really, really disappointing that the council and mayor is allowing this. The public should be allowed to speak. They shouldn't be silenced because you don't agree with what we have to say as the public. So I know, Mayor Kaufman, you've served over 30 plus years, including with my grandmother, because I am an Aurora resident. I forgot to announce that at the beginning. And I've seen you listen to the public. What happened to the old Kaufman that used to listen to the public? I know you're still in there somewhere. So all I'm asking is that instead of shutting us out, stop suppressing our voice. Let us speak. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Next is David. David, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name's David. I'm a resident of Aurora. And I just want to say that I find our police department in Aurora to be increasingly presenting themselves as militarized, and that gives me concerns on multiple levels. And it was absolutely proven to me once again when I saw the footage of Kylan Lewis's untimely death that was caused by the incident on film. So it's our police department reacts to potential threats as if they are in a war zone, and it's completely unacceptable. I don't witness as a citizen of this city like any sort of attempt to connect with the public, no matter what no matter what measures are said to being taken in regards to that, I am concerned because they cannot de-escalate a potentially dangerous situation without escalating the violence. And also, inversely to that, it's our police department just doesn't appear to be strong in a situation where like force isn't something that's able to be done. They seem reactionary and scaredly, and that does not give me confidence as a citizen that anything could actually be done, no matter what the circumstances of the situation are. And I just want to remind everybody listening that it is not a privilege to speak to the people that run our city. It is our right. That's all. Thank you.
Shannon, you're next. Go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Shannon. I am an Aurora resident who lives in Ward 1. The community surrounding the Edge at Lowry deserves answers from the city of Aurora and the APD leadership about the gun violence in our neighborhood this summer and fall, and the ongoing trash situation, which is still overflowing from the dumpsters. I ask you, who is in control of 4 out of 5 buildings in this complex? If it's not CBZ management, the city of Aurora, or a bank receiver. Government's primary responsibility is health, safety, and welfare. The city has codes that every property in the city is required to have adequate trash service. Untended trash invites disease, vermin, and is a public health issue. It is also where communities start to go wrong. If trash is acceptable to pile up, it opens the door to every other crime because people understand no one cares. Living this way is unfair and unhealthy for anyone. It's illegal to shoot a gun in the city of Aurora, but that's what has been happening in and around the Edge, especially since the beginning of 2024. At any given time, there are 20 or more cars without plates at the complex. Where is the proactive zoning code enforcement? According to calls for service records obtained for the Edge, there has been over 1,000 calls for service since 2021. There was a 175% increase in calls for service at the Edge from 2022 to October 10th of 2024. There were 44 calls for service for assault, 38 for motor vehicle theft and recovery, 32 service calls for weapons offenses, and several more for burglary, trespassing, damage to property, drugs, arson, and escaped fugitives of justice. According to the calls for service, there were only 29 arrests made. There were 628 calls for service where the only action taken was a record of the call by a computer-aided dispatch. No police came to more than half of the calls where a crime was reported. There are also numerous examples of reports being made with no response or results. For this reason, I request that the council pass a resolution directing the city manager to direct the city attorney to immediately act on the criminal nuisance filing against the remaining Edge at Lowry properties that have not gone into receivership. This complex is still not under control. I sent you all an email that demonstrates what the trash situation looks like today. Thank you. That is all.
Next, we have Justina. Justina, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council, Mr. Rinsky. I know it's very hard probably to hear all these negative things, but I'm pretty sure there's some positive items been done by the City Council and the Mayor. And maybe not our citizens aware of that. I actually live in a Ward 1, which is the most challenging one at the moment. I know we're very short staff on our law enforcement. I understand that there is always choose where to go, what's a priority, what's not. I don't believe that everybody understands what's happening actually sometimes behind the closed doors. And they're only seeing one thing, whatever it's on the TV, whatever it's on the news, whatever it's on a TikTok and Instagram. I cannot stand the Gen Z generation who just live on the social media and have no reality check what's happening. There was yesterday, apparently in a Denver Post, I'm sorry, and another article regarding, of course, it was inconsistent about what's happening in Aurora. There's back and forth what's going on. I know the mayor has a meeting with the also governor, which doesn't have to disclose what was talk about it. But with the Ward 1, we have two schools. We have West High and we have a Fountain Academy. Both schools have a parks. I will request that if there is a possibility, if the law enforcement can really start looking into the park, especially at night. We have a lot of people walking through the park, even during the school times. We have gunshots every single night. On the weekends, they're very, very common. Also, I believe so we have to check the light on the 11th Street all the way to the actually when we are where Aurora is over and the Denver starts. What we're doing with the plates and expired tax again. I know we have a new ordinance came out, but I believe the police has to pick and choose their poison, like I'm saying, what they have to do and how they have to have a probable cause to stop those cars. The reckless driving, I'm pretty sure it's nonstop. We can see and notice is happening. What we're doing with the cars, we don't have a plate. Are we towing them on the expense of the city, expense of our actually us as a citizens? And I believe so also that another thing is that about the Lewis and chief of the police and you and also mayor, no one's going to be happy. This is a community society which never going to be happy. You're never going to satisfy anybody with anything. Let's get checked this whole calling names, bullying and everything else. This is just ridiculous. It's over and over again the same thing. And I believe so. What a lady said before. We have to come together. I agree. And I believe you have a hard work to do. And they don't realize that sometimes how much work it has to be done to run the city, any city, Aurora, Denver, even could be a tiny city. There's a lot of stuff and item done. I used to work in a prison and people thought, oh, prison is just the things to run. You have no idea what we're doing on a daily basis. They have no clue. Like I said, everybody only see whatever is on the news. I'm sorry, Lewis family needs to get a closure and finally
Your time is up.
grieve on their own times. Thank you.
Kyla, you're next. You have 3 minutes.
You know, tonight I'm just on this phone call before you as a voice for my little brother. But as you representatives may have, and every person that's hearing this may have ever felt this profound, feeling of the ache of loss. Kylan's life, it was typically tragically cut short, and that moment I lost a part of myself. Every day I carry the weight of his stolen potential. My brother was so talented. His laughter, his memories, we will never, ever be able to create them again. Kylan was more than just a name. He was, my little brother, my confidant, my friend. Yet here in this chamber, it feels as if his life, really just doesn't matter, the grief that develops, just this family and other people that has also lost somebody is detrimental, especially when it comes to betrayal of people who were supposed to protect you and purposefully killed you because they chose not to use a non-lethal force or weapon, right? So as we sit here, I called in tonight because I refuse to let that silence define us. It is painful, yes, but it is also a call of action. Your silence speaks volumes. It tells me that the lives of people like Kylan, my brothers, and a lot of other people in this city are just so devalued, So when it's convenient, and especially when a public, quote unquote, says they feel safe, it comes from a lack of understanding, So all I gotta say is, when there's something to gain, that's when this type of stuff happens. Promotions. People are like, yeah, kill. Minorities have always been the lowest person on the totem pole. I don't care who you are. It's never accepted in this country, in the city. But, I refuse to accept that narrative. I'm here to remind you that my brother's life mattered. And whether you choose to acknowledge it or not, I will continue to carry his memory forward. I will fight, we will fight for him, for my family, and for every family in this
Your time
community
is up.
that deserves leadership.
Next, we have Shaden. Shaden, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Hello. I just want to bolster what Kylan Lewis's brother said and what his mother said and what other people in the audience also said today. Kylan Lewis's life matters and Black Lives Matter. And for us to speak here today, it is a right, it's not a privilege. And I just want to say that that they have spoken so eloquently and so beautifully, and their presence here today and their advocacy today for somebody that they love and for the broader community, for wanting the best for the broader community is something that is unjustifiably resilient. They shouldn't need to be here and, trying to control their emotions to speak clearly and beautifully. They have the full right to be screaming and shouting and crying, and this is something that is we have nothing to lose when we affirm a loss and injustice, and to voice that something wrong happened, and we can do things to stop it from happening again in the future. Isn't that the best for everyone? We can have community oversight for the police. We can have a statement. We can have body cams. We can have all these things. There's so many different things that we can do to make it better. It should be shock to us all that those things are being denied. Those things make sense. Those things make the community safer. It makes sense for us to be speaking out about this. It's really just sit with if this happened to somebody that you love. Just sit with that. And sit with how hurtful it can be for somebody to just look at you and see what happened and then just look away and act like nothing happened. I'm not going to speak anymore. I'll let somebody else speak. Thank you.
Shay, you're next. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm Shay. I'm not a resident of Aurora. I wish that I could say that it was surprising that more Black men have been killed by the police, both Kylan and Corey. And I wish that I could say it was surprising how both the council and city members have treated Kylan's family, both ignoring them and literally gloating in their faces about their loss as they're actively grieving, which is absolutely disgusting. And it is absolutely hypocritical to sit there and say that everybody needs to come together while also telling them to get the fuck over it. Because what people actually want is not for people to come together, it's for the silence of the people that are most impacted. I know not everybody is able to hold a critical thought and understand that. So I am Gen Z, so I get a lot of my education from TikTok. So I pulled out one of my TikTok books. So this is a quote by Jason Stanley, who's a professor at Yale, from TikTok. A healthy democratic state is governed by laws that treat all citizens equally and justly, supported by bonds of mutual respect between people, including those tasked with policing them. Fascist law and order rhetoric is explicitly meant to divide citizens into two classes: those who are the chosen nation, who are lawful by nature, and those who are not, who are inherently lawless. In fascist politics, women who do not fit traditional gender norms, non-whites, homosexuals, immigrants, decadent cosmopolitans, those who do not have the dominant religion are in their very existence violations of law and order. By describing Black Americans as a threat to law and order, demagogues from the United States have been able to create a strong sense of white national identity that requires protection from the non-white quote-unquote threat. A similar tactic is used internationally now to create friend-enemy distinctions based on fear in order to unify populations against immigrants. So it is, again, not surprising to hear this back and forth between people who are speaking up for Kylan and his family, and then the people that come on immediately after just use their racist rhetoric about the Venezuelan quote-unquote gang, which is obviously ridiculous. And this quote, I mean, it's so predictable. It's honestly boring. It's truly boring. It's so predictable. I don't even know how we have these same conversations over and over and people just clap for themselves with the same fucking statement over and over. But the only way to come together is to actually follow the research. And the research is to defund the police, because if you want to decrease crime, then you fund things that produce crime, like lack of good education,
your time is up.
lack of actual housing, lack of, thank you.
Elise, you're next. Go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Council. I just want to say that I've been listening. This is my first time. I'm actually in Atlanta. And this is my first time to hear, to get a chance to get on this call and hear some of the comments. And I'm appalled at some of the comments that I've heard thus far, that the Lewis family should get over it. Now, this is my little cousin. I saw him last for Christmas. He came down, and I hadn't seen him in a long time, and it was really good to see him. Young boy, 20s, well, 30s, whatever, he was young, and it shouldn't have happened. And for people to get on here and be that insensitive, this is ridiculous. But what I want to say is, first of all, good evening. We demand justice and accountability for the tragic killing of Kylan Lewis, a young Black man who lost his life due to reckless actions of law enforcement officers. His death is a heartbreaking reminder of the systematic injustice and excessive force that continue to disproportionately impact communities of color across our country. The facts of this case are deeply troubling. Kylan was unarmed, yet he was met with deadly force. This incident not only underscores a failure of police restraint, but also reflects a disregard for the principles of justice and equality that our society is meant to uphold. The pain and anger felt by our family, friends, and community cannot be overstated. He was a beloved son, he was a friend, he was a father, he was a valued member of this community, of that community, because I'm in Atlanta, with dreams and a future. Now he was unjustly taken away. We stand with his family. I stand with his family in demanding a thorough, transparent investigation and accountability for the officers involved in his tragic loss of life. Justice for Kylan Lewis is not only accountability for those directly involved, but also about acknowledging and addressing the larger issues within our policing and justice systems. We cannot bring him back, but we can honor his life by ensuring that no other family has to endure the same pain and loss. This does not make sense. The nation is watching, folks, and the community is demanding justice. We ask that you act decisively to affirm that Black lives do matter and that the rights of all citizens are equally protected. We seek justice, accountability, and meaningful reform now. That's what has to happen. We looked up what the statistics are between Atlanta and Colorado, and do you realize that the crime rate is much higher? Do you realize
Please, your time is up.
Our Black folks are being killed in Denver, not Atlanta? Come on now. Thank you so much for your time.
Next is Eric. Eric, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, madam. Good evening.
council members, Mr. Mayor. My name is Eric Nelson, and I am a resident of Aurora, and I'm also the group leader for Moms Demand Action Aurora. I come to you tonight as a member of the community, a community that has been shaken to its core by the tragic loss of Kylan Lewis. God knows my heart aches for this family, for the pain that they are enduring, and for the unresolved questions that linger in the air like an unwanted fog. Tonight, I just want to speak not just for myself, but for all of us who are filled with anger, sadness, and above all, concern for the direction that this community is heading. The circumstances of Kylan's death have left us in shock and sorrow, but even more troubling is the silence that has followed. This silence feels like a betrayal, a disregard for the lives and the well-being of our youth and our families. It feels as if those who hold power in this council have chosen to turn a blind eye to our grief and to the cries for justice that echo in our hearts. This silence has been deafening. This inaction sends a chilling message to our community that the lives of our neighbors are inexpendable, that their futures are negotiable, and that their families' pain is merely an afterthought. We are a community that deserves better. We deserve leaders who will stand up, who will listen, who will act with urgency and compassion. We need you to recognize that the weight of your responsibility to understand that your silence and inaction contribute to a cycle of trauma that this family cannot bear. We're not just concerned citizens here tonight. We are a collective voice demanding justice not only for Kylan, but for every member of our community who has been affected by violence, neglect, and injustice. We cannot afford to wait for change to happen. So please, I'm asking you, hear us when we say we demand it. Kylan's life mattered. God knows his story matters. And we will continue to fight for justice, for transparency, and for the dignity that every family deserves. We will not allow this council to forget his name or the names of those who have suffered injustices before him. Silence has never been an option. So God knows. Come on, council. Please speak up because we can't hear you. Thank you for listening.
That was the last individual to speak. Mayor, you're muted.
Next motion, the next item before us is the adoption of the agenda. Motion is in order.
Mayor, I move to adopt the agenda.
Councilmember Sumberg, second by
Mayor second.
Councilmember Lawson for the adoption of the agenda. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the adoption of the agenda.
Mayor Kaufman,
I vote yes.
Councilmember Medina. Thank you. Councilmember Mario.
Yes.
Councilmember Drensky.
Yes.
The motion passes with 9 yes votes to adopt the agenda.
The next item before us is the adoption of the consent calendar on motions, item 10C1.
Mayor, motion to approve item 10C1, Gardner.
Second, Sundberg.
Second by Councilmember Sumberg to approve the consent calendar on motions. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the adoption of the consent calendar on motions, item number 10C1.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Mario,
Yes.
Councilmember Drensky.
Yes.
The motion passes with 9 yes votes to adopt the consent calendar for motions.
The next item before us is the adoption of the consent calendar on resolutions and ordinances, item number 11A1 to 11A8.
Mayor, motion to approve 11A1 through 11A8, Gardner.
Moved by Councilmember Gardner, second by
second.
by Councilmember Lawson to approve the consent calendar on resolutions and ordinances item number 11A1 to 11A8. Discussion.
Mayor, we have one individual who would like to speak on item 11A6.
Oh, right. Okay. Proceed.
Justina, go ahead. You have 3 minutes. Justina, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
So this is regarding 11A6. I sent an email to the city council and also actually a mayor regarding this matter. I believe this is very important because I think we have an issue with young generation, which is ongoing. And I actually brought some also to the attention regarding that juvenile actually murder rate in Colorado has increased almost 210% since 2010. But the numbers of the firearm violence, school shootings, non-consensual sex offenses, and I believe it's very important actually that we are addressing this issue quick and fast because we can also bring to the attention what happened with the Lewis and also people who end up in gangs because the poverty is very, very actually high at the moment. And I believe so that those young generation looking up to a certain group of people, which I'm not blaming, because if you have no money in a house and the poverty is so high, of course they're going to go on the streets and look for something different. I'm also encouraging the mayor and the city council also looking at Denver Dream Center. They have an excellent actually youth program. They're going to different part of the actually state and also schools. They're talking to the young generation. They're doing outreach community. They also support families. They have a great programs regarding with the problematic children, how to keep those young generation out of the prison. I work in a reentry my entire life. I've seen the 14, 15-year young children going to prison as a juveniles, which is absolutely unacceptable. And I believe we can probably learn also of the most recent case in Cordova, when he was 14 and he actually shot someone with, I don't know what was the reason for that. I don't know his mental health. I do not know why he had the gun at age of 14. I know he has a gang relations to that. So I believe that we have to be more proactive, not reactive. When we're reactive, we have a Lewis case. And I think this is never ending situation. Thank you so much.
Well, I just want to say that Councilmember Lawson's proposal is I think right for this particular time, and what it does is it focuses a lot of our resources in working with our 2 school districts to identify in very specific programs to identify at-risk youth and who better to track these youth than their respective schools, and so I stand in strong support of her proposal. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, is there any objection? I think we already did a motion. So the question before us, is there any discussion on the adoption of the consent calendar for resolutions and ordinances item number 11A1 to 11A8? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the consent calendar of resolutions and ordinances item number 11A1 to 11A8. Call the question.
Councilmember Jurenski.
Yes, and I'm sorry, Katie, I am not able to log into my laptop.
Okay. Councilmember Mario.
Yes.
The motion passes with 8 yes votes to adopt the consent calendar for resolutions and ordinances.
Would the clerk I'll read the title to item number 13A.
Item 13A is introduction of ordinance 2024-79 to exercise the power of eminent domain for acquisition of certain properties for the 2022 traffic signal construction services project.
Presentation by staff.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. My name is Hector Reynoso. I'm the Real Property Services Manager in the Public Works Department. In 2022, city staff completed design plans for the 2022 Traffic Signal Construction Services Project. The purpose of the project is to install a traffic signal at the intersection of 56th Avenue and Piccadilly Road. City staff has identified this intersection as a public safety concern that requires the installation of a traffic signal to mitigate the existing crash patterns. In fact, crash data at this intersection has identified a pattern that was over 4 times the federally defined threshold for traffic signal installation. The right-of-way at this intersection was dedicated to the city in 2022. Xcel Energy, or PSCO, and the Colorado Interstate Gas Company, or CIG, both own an easement within the existing right-of-way. Xcel's easement runs north to south along the west half of Piccadilly Road, and CIG's easement runs east to west along the north half of 56th Avenue. The project management team designed the project in accordance with requirements that were imposed by CIG and Xcel at other intersections throughout Aurora where traffic signals currently coexist within easements owned by CIG or Xcel. In 2023, city staff contacted Xcel and CIG to obtain consent from both of them for the installation of a traffic signal within their easements. They're at the intersection of 56th and Piccadilly Road. Xcel granted consent for installation of the traffic signal, but CIG denied staff's request. Staff continued to negotiate with CIG, and in 2024, again, CIG denied installation of a traffic signal. Aurora's request to install a traffic signal, despite Aurora presenting substantial evidence of public safety concerns. As an interim solution, staff requested, and CIG did consent to the installation of stop signs at the intersection. The stop signs have reduced the crash rate, but it has not mitigated the crash pattern completely. The geometry of the intersection, traffic volumes, and pace of development in the area necessitate the installation of a traffic signal to allow drivers to more easily navigate the intersection safely and efficiently. In 2024, city staff issued the requisite notice of intent to acquire to CIG for acquisition of an easement, specifically in the northwest and northeast quadrants of that intersection. Staff has initiated an appraisal in accordance with state law, and it will be used as the basis for fair market value offering to CIG. City staff is, and will continue using best efforts to amicably acquire necessary property interests. However, in the event that negotiations reach an impasse, Aurora staff recommends the passage of an ordinance authorizing the use of eminent domain due to significant safety concerns, to avoid delays in the project schedule, and to avoid potential damages claimed by any contractor. So the question for council is, does council wish to support an ordinance authorizing the use of eminent domain pursuant to Aurora City Code Section 12-12 to acquire the necessary property interests for the construction of the 2022 Traffic Signal Construction Services Project?
Questions of staff or outside legal counsel? Seeing none, motion is in order.
So moved.
Mayor, second, Murillo.
Councilmember Sunberg, seconded by Councilmember Morio to approve item number 13A. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, the question is before us is the adoption of item number 13A. Call for the question.
Councilmember Jurenski.
Yes.
Councilmember Mario.
Yes.
The motion passes with 8 yes votes to adopt item 13A.
Will the clerk now please read the title of item number 17A?
Item 17A is reappointment of presiding judge, current associate judges, and current relief judges.
Presiding Judge Sean Day.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. I'm respectfully requesting the reappointment of myself as presiding judge. Associate judges are Arguelles, Frigo, Colley, and relief judges Anderson, Hickman, Lucero, McCarthy, Solomon, Steinhauser, Wattada, and Whitney. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Seeing none, motion is in order for the adoption of 17A.
Mayor, so moved. Murillo.
Moved by Councilmember Moreno, seconded by
Mayor Jurenski.
Seconded by Councilmember Jurenski to approve item number 17A. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the adoption of item number 17A.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Mario,
Yes.
Councilmember Drensky.
Yes.
The motion passes with 9 yes votes to adopt item 17A.
Thank you for your consideration.
Voting now, please read the title of item number 17B.
Item 17B is discussion and possible action regarding future in-person or virtual council meetings.
There's discussion.
Thanks, Mayor. Pete Schulte, City Attorney. I don't know if council has anything for this for the next meeting, but this is if you wanted to change anything for the November 18th meeting.
Discussion or questions of staff? Seeing none, then the no action will be taken. Reports. Mayor's own report. Councilmember Coombs. Councilmember Gardner.
No report.
Councilmember Zareski.
No report.
Councilmember Murillo.
Thanks, Mayor. Just wanted to acknowledge the Aurora Sister Cities International Board. They had their annual gala. I serve as the council liaison, and it was a really wonderful event. I also attended the Aurora Borealis Festival put on by Visit Aurora, all the way in the Aurora Highlands. But it was a really fantastic event, and I'm really excited to see that event grow every year. And, great job to Bruce Dalton and his team at Visit Aurora. I know I saw a couple of my colleagues there as well, but just want to shout out and give congratulations to the team. And then just a quick note on my town hall. We're normally the fourth Thursday, but that falls on Thanksgiving. So we've moved it up by a week just for folks' awareness. Thank you.
Councilmember Supper.
Yes, Mayor. Yes, I also went to the Visit Aurora Borealis. Pretty cool technology. Big sound system with a pretty decent band. I'd like to hear a little more funk and some R&B though. Trunk or treat over at Clyde Miller, P through 8 in the Rectangle neighborhood, put on by some just regular volunteers, and it was a huge success, well attended. And then I also attended a coat drive sponsored by Civitas and Operation Warm over at Elkhart Elementary School, and that sure is heartwarming to pass out coats to little 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds, and that never gets old. So, thank you.
Councilmember Medina.
Thank you, Mayor. Just my next town hall, which will be the last one for this year, I'll resume back in January, which is November 12th, which is a Tuesday, 6:30 to 8 p.m. over at the Active Adult Center. And we'll be talking about current and future projects happening in Ward 3 and in the city in general. Thank you.
Councilmember Hancock.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to briefly say the Aurora Borealis Festival was amazing, and I can't wait to see what happens next year. My grandkids loved it, and to see the faces of the young people that were there, even though that first night it was cold, just the effects that I witnessed there were so cool, and it's so great to see our city just be celebrated in such a unique and positive and wonderful way. With all the negative stuff going on, it was nice to see something fun happening, and it just fed my soul. And I look forward to seeing Visit Aurora do even bigger and better things next year.
Okay, Councilmember Lawson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to give my legislative update. The governor has released his budget for 2025. Among the top priorities are public safety, education, and health care. The request is for $17.8 billion general fund, which is a 3.2 increase over the FY 2020 2024-2025. The governor has also allocated 1.7 to increase the bed cap for youth detention. The cap has been a city priority to address this lack of available space for our growing population. Additional allocations include $2 million in youth delinquency prevention and intervention programs. Congress will be back in session post-election November 12th to work most notably on the Farm Bill renewal, the National Defense Authorization Act, and the budget. Our next Pfizer meeting will be Friday, November 15th at 1 p.m. and it will be virtual. And then my town hall, my final town hall for this year will be November 19th at 6:30 at the Central Rec Center, and we'll have the Chief of Police speaking at that at my town hall. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Councilmember Bergen has an excused absence. Seeing no further business before the Aurora City Council, meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.